Hello everybody, the Nameless Narcissist here once again. A simple man diagnosed with NPD, giving the facts of narcissistic personality disorder and things that go on in my head. If you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe, but keep in mind, I am no clinician. I can only speak to my own experiences. So, oftentimes you hear this myth of, oh, well, if you suspect you're a narcissist, then you aren't one, which is blatantly untrue. I've seen many narcissists go undiagnosed for that reason, right? People can be self-reflective as a narcissist, and though it might be harder, and people can be non-self-reflective as a non-narcissist. And so, like, you're left, and since that's like the litmus test that we always kind of default to, because that's like the stereotype, you're wondering, how can I actually know? And so I actually pulled up a list of diagnostic criteria from people who were actually diagnosed with NPD, and they actually wrote one up so that even the people who aren't self-aware can kind of relate to it, right? So we're going to go through this list, and I guess you're going to see if you're a narcissist or not. Maybe you are, maybe you aren't. I don't know. You probably aren't. Most people aren't. Like, there's only like 0.5 of us that are. Anyways, whatever. So I'm just going to read the little like thing here. I'll also link this in the comments if you guys want. The Narcissistic Personality Disorder Checklist. This is a checklist to help one understand narcissistic personality disorder. One may use it self-diagnosed or as a worksheet to present to a doctor or a therapist or other medical professional and better communicate symptoms that they're experiencing. All information is taken from the DSM-5. Yeah, a lot of this is reworded so that like people like me can like relate to it more, but it all is in the DSM-5, either from the actual criteria or from the alternative criteria, which is in section 3 of the DSM, which is way better, by the way, than the normal criteria. All right, so section 1. I have identity issues, and I depend on others in order to define myself. My self-esteem depends on others as well. How others view me influences how I view myself, which is why I try to present myself as important or powerful. So fucking relatable for me. Oh my God, you guys have no idea. That's the thing, is that I don't know, how do you know who you are if somebody isn't telling you? I have no idea. If you can answer that, then you're probably not a narcissist, because I need other people to tell me who I am for me to know who I am. And then based on the feedback I'm getting, that'll make my self-esteem reflect that, right? My self-esteem is either going to be really high because I think I'm better than everybody and awesome, or it's going to be really low because I think that everyone hates me and I'm terrible and stuff like that. Second one, I have difficulty setting goals for myself, and how I set them really depends on the praise I receive from others. I tend to set goals unrealistically high in order to see myself as exceptional, or contrarily too low so I can feel more powerful when the task is easy. I don't have real interests. I mean, I do. There's things I am passionate about, but when it comes to my vocational stuff, it's always I am purely doing it for the purpose of status and prestige. It's this is what will make people respect me. This will make me a lot of money so people respect me. It's always about the outsider's view of me. I struggle to identify with the feelings and needs of others. I tend to underestimate the effect I have on others. Yeah, this is true. Sometimes I will so this is about empathy, right? First of all, I don't feel effective empathy. I'm not the majority of narcissists also lack it. The majority of narcissists actually do have empathy, but the majority of narcissists also, they will do things and not even think about the other person, right? I'll hurt somebody and it won't even occur to me that I hurt them until after the fact. I'm just oh, there's my goal. It's I'm fucking running and I slap somebody out of the way to get to the finish line, but I didn't even recognize that as a person, or I was too caught up in the moment to recognize them as a person. I have unstable relationships. I become so focused on my own anxieties and problems, I forget the needs of my partner. This is true. Narcissists like me, we are just very preoccupied with our own issues all the time. It's honestly very distressing, to the point that it's hard to think about anybody else. It's I'm always oh, I'm not as happy today. Why am I not as happy? Oh, my fucking arm hurt. Why is my arm hurting? Do I have cancer or something like that? It's a constant anxiety about myself and about issues pertaining to myself, or especially interpersonal relationships. Oh, they acted kind of weird. Do they hate me now? What did I do wrong? I must have done something to make them not like me as much. Oh, well, they're bullshit anyway. I can do better on my own. It's constant. It's constant. Must check all of the following. And this is a really important part of knowing if you're a narcissist or not. My symptoms impair my personality and social functioning. My symptoms are consistent across a broad range of personal and social situations. My symptoms have lasted a while and started in early adulthood or earlier. My symptoms are not caused by medication, drug use, or another medical condition. I think that first one is the thing to really cling on to, right? Are you suffering? Do you have either what the DSM calls clinically significant distress, or alternatively, do you feel like you or like, is it like basically making it impossible for you to work or have social relationships and stuff like that? Because if not, you're not a narcissist. Because that might, if you if you relate to like the classic DSM criteria, not these because these are a little bit different, but you don't have any issues in your life, you might just kind of be an asshole. Like, this is a mental illness. You have to have some kind of impairment in your functioning for it to be considered like an actual mental illness and for you to be diagnosed. So, and honestly, I don't know why you'd be worrying if you were a narcissist if you aren't having some kind of like personal distress. And then there's this. Okay. I can be self-centered and I feel entitled to the good treatment from others as I am dependent on it. This kind of gets back to like the first one, right? Is that I need people to look at me the way that I need them to look at me. I need them to respect me. I need them to tell me that I'm great. Because otherwise I feel like crap. So that's kind of where that entitlement comes in. I like to be a center of attention and I seek admiration from others. I think that one's self-explanatory. Oh my God. I get like almost high when I'm the center of attention. Or at least like, no matter how big the group is, like I feel like I almost get like manic of like, oh yeah, like I just get really hyped up, very like up and stuff like that. I tend to exaggerate my achievements and talents and like to be praised for them. Oh God, yeah. I mean, that one's also true. So here's one that I do that like it's a very minor example, but sometimes I'll see something, let's say like in a YouTube video, right? I'll learn something from it. And if I want to brag to somebody about how I know this fun fact and stuff like that, I'll tell them I learned it in a study instead of in a YouTube video, just because like it sounds better and I'm exaggerating like, you know, my own intelligence and stuff like that by being like, oh, well, I look at studies. Look at me. Look how great I am. I do stuff like that. Like, I don't do it as much anymore, but I used to do it constantly. I'm often preoccupied with fantasies of my own success, power, brilliance, beauty, or ideal love life. And I want to expand this to the point that's like, I cannot do a hobby without being fixated on like, oh my God, everyone's going to admire me so much, right? Everyone's going to think I'm the greatest thing that's ever lived. Like it honestly like impairs my ability to actually do hobbies and stuff. Because especially when like I fail at it, I'm like, oh, well, like I'm better than this anyway. Like I try to rationalize it, but it's earnestly that I feel so ashamed about the fact that I couldn't like do it that I just like toss it to the side and never look at it again. Or I like tell myself I got bored of it or like I'm over it, whatever. Like when my YouTube channel almost got deleted, I tried to tell myself like, oh, well, you know, that was a waste of time anyway. I should have been doing podcasting this entire time. I require, in a way, I believe I'm special and unique, and I like to surround myself with other people who are special and unique. This can take a lot of forms, by the way. Like, for example, like, oh, like, I'm unique because I'm intelligent. I'm very intelligent, and the only people that can understand me are other intelligent people. Or for me at this point, I think part of it is honestly my narcissism, right? Because I've been doing this for so long. Is that, oh, well, if I am, so like, the only people who can understand me are other cluster Bs because we're different than other people. Which we are to some degree, right? But still. I require excessive admiration. I do. Please praise me. I set unreasonable expectations for both myself and the people around me. Yes, this is another thing with entitlement, right? Is that a big part of entitlement isn't that like is that I feel entitled to good treatment, is that I feel like those people should be held to the same standards that I'm holding myself to. I fail them more, and I guess I'm pretty harsh with myself, but I'm equally as harsh with other people with them, right? And that comes off as entitlement a lot. I tend to take advantage of situations and I'm opportunistic. Interpersonal exploitation. Yes. There's no way to sugarcoat this one because this is one of the worst symptoms that not everybody has, by the way. But like it can be as subtle as like, oh, I'm dating this person because they are of high status, they're high society, they have money, they're like, people are going to, or she's beautiful, people are going to envy me for being with her, or having friends because they're well connected, stuff like that. It's usually, for narcissists, is not normally due to material gain. It's usually for like social stuff like that. I struggle with empathy and have a hard time relating to others. I can't relate to others. And I feel lonely. Very lonely because of it. I am often envious and I cover what other people have. I don't have envy as much, but I do want to expand this to people also like believing that other people are envious of you. When you're more grandiose presenting, like you're not going to think that, you're not going to be envious of people as much as you're going to think that like, oh, that person was mean to me. Well, they must have just been envious of me. They're jealous that I'm young and smart, stuff like that. Like I've rationalized people hating me with that for so many times. It's like they just want to be me. Like, obviously, that's why they resent me so much. I can have an arrogant or haughty attitude. Pretty self-explanatory. And so, and this last set for this diagnostic list, none of these are required for what they agreed to be a diagnosis, but these are also very common, and a lot of them I relate to. I can either have low or high self-esteem. I find it depends on the people I'm with and how they're treating me at the time. I personally think that this should just be part of it, because I don't think there's a narcissist out there that always has high self-esteem. You go back and forth. You dip up and down. You're either grandiose or you're vulnerable. You hate yourself or you think you're the best thing that's ever lived. You don't love yourself. You just think you're better than everybody else. I tend to overestimate myself, which can often lead to disappointing myself. Pretty self-explanatory. I can become anxious and spiral into a depression if I don't receive praise or admiration, and I hate being alone for too long. These are kind of tied for me, because it's like if I'm not around people for long enough, I get like very depressed and anxious, and I feel like I don't know who I am anymore. I feel like I'm falling up. I feel like parts of me are like falling off and like atrophying. I feel like I almost forget like how to even communicate with people, how to be like charismatic. And it sucks. Really sucks. I find I often compare myself with others, often having no other means of defining myself unless I can use someone else as sort of a measuring tape. This is hierarchical thinking. So narcissists, like myself, we think of everything in hierarchies. Everything is better than or less than. And so we kind of use other people like that as well, to just kind of define who we are. I often feel incredibly misunderstood by others. I'm not sure if that one's rational or pathological, if I'm being honest, because it's like, yeah, you guys don't really, like, if a normal person is watching this, you don't really get us. But at the same time, like, it's probably part of, like, we can only relate to special people and stuff, but, like, I think it's a mixed bag. But yeah, that's a very prominent feeling for me. I find I like to have the best of everything, the newest electronic, the most expensive brand of something, etc. This is the only one I don't really relate to. But that again, and this, like, really shows, like, how differently narcissism can present. Because my whole thing is like, oh, I'm stoic. I don't need anything. I live on the bare minimum. It's indulgent to want the newest everything. It's a waste. It's indulging in these, like, worldly possession. Not that quite exactly, but you know what I mean. So I don't relate to that one, but I'm sure other people can. I like constantly moving up, making progress, and become obsessive with it. Oh my God, yes. Oh my God. I feel like I'm constantly running out of time. I'm like, I need to get up. Ugh. When talking myself, I tend to ramble. I'm just going to let that one just kind of, let you guys wrestle with that. I think a lot of people are jealous of me, and this is what I talked about earlier with you might think other people are envious of you. And you might be vindicated by the fact that they're envious. Like, it might feel good, because it does for me. I'm incredibly sensitive to criticism. I don't show it outwardly, but being criticized can make me feel humiliated, degraded, and empty. Yes. And you probably don't show it because you don't want people to know that you're weak. You don't want people to know that they affected you. It's pathetic to let them know, right? But yeah, if you're like me, you fucking feel it. When upset, I tend to withdraw from others. I have isolated myself in my room for like days. which I'm not sure if that one's exactly common, but like once I got insulted at work and I literally left and just shut myself up in my room for like the rest of the day. Hate it. I find being competitive very difficult for me because there's a chance of me losing. My grandpa was like this, but yeah, same. I'm often depressed and or anxious. Depression, major depressive disorder actually has like a 50% comorbidity rate with NPD. It's nice. I try to read people's weaknesses while hiding my own. I sure as hell do. But yeah, those are like, and like this is not a like replacement for a diagnosis or anything like that. But if you relate to these things, even if you're not a narcissist, you should probably seek therapy because these are not pleasant things to live with, at least in my experience. So I advise anybody who read this list to do seek help in some form or another. It doesn't mean you're necessarily a narcissist, but I mean, if you relate to everything on this list or like the majority of it, you got some narcissistic tendencies, that's for sure. Some pathological narcissistic tendencies. But, you know, I'm not a clinician, so take it as you will. Anyways, take your fucking meds, please. Y'all have a good one.